All right, so this morning's clip, I'm going to talk about Portulaca. So over the spring, I had planted several succulent ground covers, and they all died over the summer. And a few weeks ago, when our temperature had dropped from about 119 to 109, I decided, okay, it's cool enough that I can get out and pay some attention to my yard and replace some of those ground covers. And when I went to the nursery, I thought, well, hopefully whatever they have in stock will be something that can survive our summers. And this is what I found. It was simply labeled as Portulaca, which Portulaca is a family, so I had to dig around to try to identify what the real plant name is for this particular ground cover. It's moss rose, and it's supposed to be heat loving and drought tolerant once it's established. One issue with it is it's marketed as an annual because it's frost tender, so I'm not sure that it will survive the winter. However, my understanding is that it will self-seed, so even if it dies this winter, it should come back in the spring just from its own seeds. So one of my plans then is last spring there was a plant I noticed that I really loved the way it looked. It's called Iceland poppy, and they don't have it right now, but it is perennial. It's supposed to be good for this climate here in the Phoenix, Arizona. It should last through the summer and winter. I guess the name Iceland ought to be a clue to that, huh? Northern climate. So Portulaca is edible, and I'm going to pan over here to this elephant bush, or elephant food. It's from Africa. It got its name because elephants actually eat it. This is Portulaca. Now I'm going to come back over here to these weeds. This one right there is called purselane. It's a common weed. You'll find it growing all over the country from my understanding. Notice that it's succulent. Notice the red tinted stem, and let's compare it. Look, it just almost disappears in here with this moss rose. And this one, in contrast, is called spurge. The leaves do not grow the same way. These leaves are smaller. They grow flat. They're not as dimensional as purselane. And spurge is mildly toxic. When you break it open, it has a white latex that comes out. You don't want this growing in your yard. You don't want to eat it. But if you happen to have purselane, and you also have a tortoise or rabbits, this is something you can feed them. You can just let them graze on it. Okay, so I think I covered it. Oh, I'm going to interplant. The thing about the poppies is I'm going to interplant them. Since they are, I'm just going to have a seat right here. All right, so the poppies are perennial. They are considered to be mildly toxic, but yes, information is a little bit mixed as to whether or not they're edible. They are, of course, in the poppy family, and we're probably all aware of opium poppies and poppy seeds. It contains alkaloids. I think I'm saying that correctly. alkaloids that in many plants that are hallucinogenic. In some way, these alkaloids are toxic to us and they can cause gastric distress. The moss rose is an edible plant. 100% edible is my understanding. Like I said, it's in the Portulaca family. I have eaten purselane. I have also eaten elephant bush. And these are both HOA landscape approved plants. They are plants that are sold as landscape plants and commonly grown here in the Phoenix area. So eat what you grow, mostly. Some of the plants I have growing here are purely for aesthetics, like my purple heart. But this is one that we can harvest and eat, and over time we'll just see which one does better out here in our landscape, whether it's the Iceland poppy or the moss rose. And it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.